It from the world of sports and the news world. Let's now make sense of the news of the day, which is the budget as far as the 2025-2026 budget is concerned. Remember, you can be part of this discussion. Send us a message and your comment on 22047. We will sample some of your views towards the end of the program. Just a reminder of our panel that has patiently been with me in studio are CPA Benedict Omollo is a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Davis Tayo is the Managing Partner, Africa Social Financing Center. Nicholas Cairo is the Associate Director, Tax and Legal Services. Rafael Maruri is a Certified Public Accountant. Nicholas, before we went back to the news, I asked you of if this was a household budget, would it be a bad economics for the household owner?
Definitely, we are bad economics, keeping in mind we have a deficit of almost 1 trillion out of a budget of 4.3. Well, out of a budget around 4.3. So we are looking at 25% if you are looking vis-a-vis the budget. If you go ahead and look at the revenue, we are having estimated revenue from of around 3.2 trillion. So if you are to look at the shortfall, it's quite significant, and it will reach a point whereby we'll have to either source money either through borrowing, or we have to sell some of the parastatals for us to fund this budget. Do you think if you are doing it year on year as a household, can you survive year on year with such huge deficits? No. You will have to either to curtail your expenditure or try and rope up or increase your revenue, which I think we are struggling increasing the revenue, so it means we have to curtail our expenditure.
Davis, Cairo is hinting as though this is a household living beyond its means.
Yeah, I will cast not a judgmental perspective, but an analytical perspective. I see this household as having two main interested parties. First, you have the neighbors who are wondering, is this household stable? And that seems to have been the preoccupation of the leaders in stabilizing the macroeconomic conditions of the country, making sure that our debt repaying capacity to our local and international obligations are stabilized, stabilizing the exchange rate, just making sure that the country has regained its status. What I'm seeing now in this budget is now a deliberate move from the macro now to the micro. Because I think during the break we were asking ourselves, these good numbers we are talking about, where are they? Because we are not seeing money in our pockets. I think this next phase is a very deliberate effort to put money in Kenyans' pockets. And I can just mention a few things which I've seen, like the Climate Works program is literally going to put money in the pockets of people, because they'll be employing people to do all these slashing jobs, cleaning the rivers and all those kind of things. We are seeing some enhancement in the Hustler Fund. We are seeing some enhancement in the social safety net monies, an increase in that. We are seeing a very bold statement. In fact, those were some of the first words CS Mbadi said, that NHIF had 8 million members. SHA now has over 20 million members. And by God's luck, if that program works, with the way tunasema wa Kenya, truth of God, it will put money in people's pocket, because it will be good to go to hospital and be taken care of. So there are a lot of ifs. And then see, time will tell as we go on if we will.
Benedict, Davis hinted at my next question. Often Treasury and policymakers point to figures to paint a rosy picture of an economy that is growing. But to the Kenyan watching this, who is the economy growing for?
I think we've got to ask ourselves, what has the CS put in the budget that could help us? I would agree with him. I think what the CS mentioned was the pending bills, which they were going to pay. And specifically, they were going to start with micro and small enterprises. I think that makes sense, because when we look at the statistics, we have about 7 million SMEs, and we have about between 14 to 17 million direct beneficiaries of these SMEs. That will be something which will then start enhancing liquidity. And so the pending bills payment has got to be done. I was a bit surprised that of the portfolio they received, only about 50% look legitimate. Now that's a very big issue, and I hope that his proposal for the e-procurement will help us. The other thing which he brought out that I think was positive is a treasury single account, because you then have got a lot of government entities that have got a lot of money. They are cash positive, yet the other side of government is borrowing money. So they're doing TBs, so they're basically borrowing from the bank. It doesn't make sense. So this treasury single account could help sort out a bit of this problem. My final point, which I would agree with him, and I hope that they would be, how would I call it, aggressive on this, is the parastatal, he called it the state corporation reforms. Now, in this one, if they're going to go to the government-owned enterprises, I think we have got to move away from where chairmen and CEOs are rejected politicians. That won't work, because these parastatals need to be cash positive. They need to generate, especially the government-owned enterprises, they need to generate positive cash, and they need to generate good returns. Of course, it's through service delivery, and so that has got to be worked on. And so you've got to look for competent people who can actually manage these enterprises. That will help in terms of trying to put money and liquidity into the economy, and people may start feeling some positive sides. But just to mention, I tend to have a concern with some of the projects we do, like the climate work for youth engagement, perhaps could work, but I think some of the proposals we are giving today are for the previous period. We have had free primary education for the last 20 years. We have young people who are educated. Now, when you tell a university graduate to go slash, I mean, there's no meaning. I mean, it's futile. So we've got to sit down and come up with things that give these young people meaning.
And Benedict, you mentioned of the pending bills.
Yes.
Basically, companies and individuals who have done businesses with either the national government or the county government who have not been paid over a period of time. But what usually is the effect of that to an economy like Kenya's, where you see the numbers, though the committee is still verifying these numbers, are sky high?
I mean, the impact is that it basically just strangles business. And so if I don't get paid by government, perhaps I borrowed, I've got to shut down my business, I've got to lay off employees. So the ripple effect of not paying is quite a challenge. Now let's think for a moment, and I didn't hear him bring it very robustly. Let's talk about the universities. Now, when the public universities are all collapsing, and they cannot even remit statutory returns, we are talking about a very difficult situation. And so we've got to look at this, because the moment the universities start struggling, it means even the students there are struggling because they are suffering. Lecturers are not being paid. They're always out demonstrating or doing one thing or the other. We have got a ripple effect of a challenge. So I think that the pending bills can only be resolved by better financial discipline.
When the chief economic advisor of the president, David D, says, for instance, that doing business with government is not sustainable, it's not the wise thing to do. Your comments?
Government is the biggest consumer. And so government must actually spend, and then the rest of the economy goes. I think the government must have the discipline of paying for services rendered. That must be the principle. Yeah.
Okay, Rafael.